I'm extremely disturbed. Tonight, I wanted to talk to you about the extraordinary life of one of the greatest companions of the Prophet ﷺ by the name of Muadh ibn Jabal. But, um, but I'm not able to focus, to be honest with you, with what is taking place right now at the Shifa compound in Gaza as we speak. There is, and when you see what the doctors are saying, it's not even something that I sought. So my mother-in-law sitting watching this all day, and I'm like seeing it, and I'm like, Subhanallah. Imagine those people who are living this reality, who have been living this reality for a very long time. And these doctors are very dedicated. They're professional. Their level of resilience and steadfastness is just inspiring. But at the same time, this is not fair. This is not right. This shouldn't be happening. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It's beyond ridiculous. It almost feels like a nightmare. It doesn't even feel real anymore. It feels like a nightmare. I mean, it's like a horror movie or something. And they are seeing this. It's a hospital, for God's sake. These are medical professionals who took a vow to save lives and help people. And you leave them, and they've been improvising all this time without anything. One of the doctors was speaking about how they cannot fully do full sedation. They cannot because they don't have oxygen. So they know that the patient feels the pain. And they've been improvising, they've been doing all kinds of things, but at this point, they're left with nothing. They're just watching. There was this nurse or medical, practitioner that was actually, trying to keep pumping, air into the lung of a child because the ventilators are not working. There's no power. I urge all the medical, and you can relate to these things. When you know people, I tell you, as someone who had to, rush one of my children to the ER, and the state of panic that I was in, I will never forget that day and how it felt. And then you find these dedicated, healthcare professionals basically comforting you and taking care of your child, providing the best care that they can. It's, you build an attachment and a level of appreciation for what these men and women are doing. And now that they have to not only watch their patients, but they watch their families, pretty much. Watch the families and their patients, and watch watch this person dying slowly. It's just how this is happening in 2023 is beyond me. Not that I had much faith. I think we all, especially in medical profession, you should pick up the phone and call the White House, call the state. This is ridiculous. I'm a doctor, and this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable. And there isn't anything lower than this. Is there nothing that this regime is not willing to do? What's that? Okay, what I don't understand, I understand this kind of twisted mindset. What I don't understand is, to me, places of worship are sacred. They're not supposed to be touched, at least in our tradition. You do not destroy, desecrate, or take over mosques, synagogues, and churches, or any place that people consider to be a place of worship. Houses of worship are to be left alone. That's our tradition. These are our principles. We don't desecrate them. We don't destroy them. We don't do any of these things. It's a no-no for us. But even that, I can understand someone who doesn't adhere to my values, not caring much about them. But two places, other than that, I can't think of any human being really seeing any justification to violate them. Schools, where children get education, and hospitals, where where lives are supposed to be saved. You get to that point where you can see these places as legitimate targets of any form of aggression or violence, then I don't know what is left in that person. What is left in that individual's humanity? A person that sees schools where children are supposed to feel safe and receive education, or hospitals where children and people and injured people basically who are helpless are supposed to receive care. Because even your wounded enemies and combatants, any living being that is wounded deserves care, deserves to be treated like a living being. The place that provides that care is untouchable. It shouldn't be. So anyone that violates that, Prophet ﷺ forbade the Sahaba from killing injured combatants. You do not finish off injured combatants. You do not abuse prisoners who basically surrendered. If someone is in your custody, you don't abuse them. This is way before the Geneva Convention. This is our tradition. This is the rules of Muhammad ﷺ that he established. So when people violate these things, like when Quraysh mutilated the Sahaba and disfigured their faces and mutilated their bodies, that was unheard of. It was a shameful thing, so much so that Abu Sufyan came and he said, I am not responsible for what happened. Muhammad, you're going to find some of your companions' bodies were mutilated and they were disfigured. I'm not responsible for it. This is a pagan enemy who had just was able to turn things around, won the battle in Uhud. He came and apologized for it, for what some people who were part of his army did. He felt that morally responsible to apologize to his sworn enemy, to Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, say, listen, I didn't approve that. I don't know who did it. It was not part of our plan or agenda that someone does that. So when someone doesn't even have that level of decency, I'll leave you with this. And when you study the seerah, it's important that we pay attention to these little things. You see, in the old days, even amongst non-believing rivals, there was a code of honor. People honored each other, right? People honored. There was a code of honor. Honorable death, honorable way of doing things, honorable burial for people. You hand over the bodies. You allow your enemies to have access to bury their dead in an honorable fashion. There's a ceasefire. There's like a truce, temporary truce, just for people to be able to attend to their wounded and to mourn, to bury their dead and mourn their dead, and then they re-engage again. When we're talking about armies, sometimes when these fights go on for long, right? One side calls for a truce. Let's just put this on hold for 1 or 2 days so that we can have enough time to honor our dead and bury them, and then we can re-engage again. That's what they used to do. Now at the Shifa hospital, they had to bury people there because they still have many bodies that are not buried. They can't even bury them. Imagine the backyard or the medical compound turning into a graveyard because you don't know what to do with the bodies. This is ridiculous. This is ridiculous. This is just crazy. It's unbelievable. I'll conclude with this. There is this moment in the seerah that is just Abu Jahl is with a member of the various clans waiting for the Messenger of Allah ﷺ to exit so that to execute him. This is the night of the hijrah of the Prophet ﷺ. They surrounded his house. And they were waiting for him for hours to come out to kill him. They wanted to murder the Prophet ﷺ. This was the plot, to assassinate the Prophet. They waited. The Prophet ﷺ obviously came from between them and he left. They were waiting there for a long time until they finally realized it was morning time, that he actually escaped. So someone asked them, why didn't you break into the house? Why didn't you just break into the house and get to him? Because Ali was sleeping, they thought he was there the whole time, until they realized that it wasn't even him. It was Ali that came out. It's like, why didn't you break into the house? Why did you stay there for hours? Almost 20 hours, for a long time. You know what Abu Jahl said? He said, do you want the Arabs to say that we violated the honor of the household of the Hashemites, and that we broke into and we terrorized the women, the women or the daughters of Abdul Muttalib? Abu Jahl, the pharaoh of this ummah, the person that killed Sumayyah in cold blood. He had some standards, some moral. He said, do you want people to say that we terrorized women and violated the honor of the daughters of Abdul Muttalib? He didn't break into his enemy's house. ولا حول ولا قوة حسبنا الله ونعم الوكيل. We'll conclude inshallah ta'ala with this.
So obviously they have a twisted mentality. I watched the video today. There was a journalist that was accompanying some Israeli soldiers into Gaza. There were some Israeli snipers that were seated there. They were watching the procession of the people leaving. The journalist asked him, are you doing this proportionally? You know what he said? He said, we don't believe in a proportionate response in war. Whatever we're doing is fully acknowledged. We're behind it 100%. So he basically says
no boundaries, no limits.
no proportional response. Civilians are fair game.
Okay.
I think you're misreading the situation. You're misreading this. You're misreading this because you have to understand how the whole Jewish religion is set up. For them, there are two types of humans, the Jews and the Gentiles. And everything is legit when it comes to treating the Gentiles. So everything, you can get the legitimate mainstream Jewish scholar to give you factor to justify what is going. It is.
But you can find that in any religion. You can find anyone that can give you extreme views, trying to justify your action, find moral justification for it. No, I don't think it's that. This particular case is not even. I don't even think that they believe in it. They're not fully believing in it. This is pure evil just act of vengeance and serving just a very evil agenda. That's it. Because
It's embedded in the religion, in the psyche. It's embedded in. It's deeply. You have to understand how they think. This is core of where they are.
mean they're gonna create the evidence,
Subhanallah. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. It is a sign of defeat. It's when you reach, by the way, these are precursors of defeat. These are precursors of collapse and decline. We know throughout history, any civilization, any superpower, any civilization, any superpower, any establishment, any empire that reached this level, this low level of morality, when they had no boundaries, when they have no limits, when they had no honor, that these are the precursors of their decline and their collapse. No doubt about it in my mind. It's just what is really hurting is not what they're doing. It's those who are complicit in this. People who are just sitting and watching. People who have no honor. People who are bothered because this has taken a long time, and they're bothered by the inconvenience. They're bothered by the boycott campaigns. They're bothered by the news. They're just bothered. They just want to move on to the next thing. We just want to go back to be able to enjoy our lives, and why do I have to see dead children or children screaming and injured? They're just bothered by it. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Hasbunallah wa ni'mal wakeel. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.